I was fascinated by an exchange on CNN, and I don't even watch CNN, so this came to me a whole different way. This came to me on my social media. This came to me on YouTube. This came to me through a whole bunch of people texting it to me. But we saw a really interesting attack and defense of Kamala Harris on CNN. There was a panel on CNN that got real spicy when South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace kept mispronouncing Vice President Kamala Harris's name. And part of why it was frustrating to watch is because it's an intentional mispronunciation. She said the name correctly at first, and then she corrected herself to say it incorrectly. They're literally baiting people to talk about Kamala Harris in a certain way. They're baiting people to be outraged at the mispronunciation. And so it worked, because the whole conversation got sidetracked and derailed. Although I appreciated how Michael Eric Dyson, who was involved in the conversation, and Keith Boykin, who was involved in the conversation, responded and handled it. Because when the mispronunciation happened, they were trying to let it go. Keith Boykin corrected her a few times, but in general, they were trying to let it go. But then it got ridiculous, not because the woman mispronounced her name, but because of the arrogance and the racist undertones, the racist overtones with which she expressed how and why she wasn't going to stop mispronouncing this grown Black woman's name. Listen to this.
Is in a very vulnerable
Talk
position.
about rerun Kamala's.
You had it right. You almost got it.
I will say Kamala's name any way that I want to.
No, but you mispronounced her. You also misjudged her.
I just did, and I'll do it again.
Mispronouncing her name.
That's why we're supposed to acknowledge her humanity.
If I purposely mispronounce your name, that would not be appropriate.
Policies are Joe Biden's policies. She owns
You're
it.
normalizing that kind of viciousness, man.
33 times.
She was the deciding vote,
and she was the vice on Joe Biden's bill. We know that times the deciding vote on Joe Biden's bill.
Let me just say this, because this Congresswoman is a wonderful human being. But when you disrespect Kamala Harris by saying you will call her whatever you want, I know you don't intend it to be that way. That's the history and legacy of white disregard for the humanity of Black people.
So now you're calling me racist.
I didn't say. I just said you weren't a racist.
That is complete.
You don't have to intend racism.
No. You are intending that I am
your disrespect of Kamala Harris
that is
part and parcel of a tradition of disrespect.
It's offensive,
Congresswoman. Why can't you just?
I'm not calling you a racist. I'm telling you what the practice is.
You are. You absolutely are.
The better way no, what's disgusting is your disrespect of her.
Professor,
this gentleman said,
didn't know her name. He's trying to do it. Is her disrespect of women. She doesn't know what a woman is. And if 25 years ago,
Black women don't have the ability to tell Black women who paid the price of blood to make this country what it is, to tell them they're not real women.
25 years ago, I became the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the military college of South Carolina. I fought my way through it. Blood, sweat, and tears. And Kamala Harris, if
Kamala, you said it was
Nancy.
It's Kamala. You're doing this on purpose, Congressman.
That's disrespectful.
You can't expect people to respect your service if you don't respect
and walked that stage 25 years ago, she would have said it. She would have taken that achievement away from women.
Wow. So there's so many things here, and I hate to even jump into the fray on this, because this is in a way exactly what Republicans want. They want to, first of all, they're childish and they're immature, and they want to literally goad like a elementary or middle schooler. They want to goad people into spaces of frustration, anger, defensiveness around her name by calling her the wrong name. It's like pulling her hair. It's that kind of childish schoolyard immaturity, but it's to a more sophisticated end. They know that fundamentally, that if you continue to disrespect somebody by calling them the wrong name, people are going to be outraged. They want the Black people, they want the women, they want the quote unquote others to be outraged. They want to show them angry and vile. They want them to fight back in a way that will turn off voters. That's one thing. They want to literally inflict, not racist, but I mean, it is racist, but they want to inflict, what's the word I'm going to call, microaggressions on people, and on Kamala Harris and on other Black people. When you call people by the wrong name constantly, It's a microaggression. When that white woman says, I will call her whatever I want, I have rarely heard such a disturbing and disgusting display of white supremacist arrogance in public without even a hint of a shield or a protection or a sleight of hand. They just went full racist. You never go full racist, right? They went full racist. This is one of the dog whistles. She said, I will call her whatever I want, as if she's not a human being, as if she's not entitled to her dignity and her culture and her damn name. Black people have fought and struggled and died over our names. We were forced to take other people's names. We were named after our owners who treat, or our principal owners. We were turned legally into property. We didn't have the capacity legally to name ourselves. And so when you say, I'm going to call you what I want, no matter what you say, it's disgusting. And the fact that she used the right name and corrected herself to the wrong name after saying the wrong name a dozen times and saying the right name first, it shows you that this is just a game. She just couldn't stay on script. Nancy Mace is racist. And my dear friend, brother, and mentor, Michael Eric Dyson, he said, you know, this is why he's smoother and smarter than me. And I don't mean that with any like faint praise. I mean this literally. He handled it perfectly, right? He said, look, you're a wonderful person. And I know you don't intend it to be racist, but that's a perfect way to enter the conversation. Now, we all know the woman's racist, but the idea is to disarm her so that she can hear that what she's doing is racist. But because she's not actually trying to operate in good faith, even when Brother Dyson did the right thing and said, you know, look, I know you didn't mean it this way, but this shit got racist. She was like, wait, so now I'm a racist? He literally just said, I know you don't intend it that way. He literally just said, I know you don't intend it that way. He said, you're a wonderful person. And she still just heard I'm a racist, because that's what white people hear. Any talk of race is racist. Any talk of racism is internalized and they become defensive and angry. Not every white person, but these kind of white people, these particular kinds of white people be on that type of time. And so when you see something like this, please understand the game. But there's a bigger point here. And this is a point that I need everybody to hear. When we enter the conversation and spend 2.5 minutes talking about her name, that's 2.5 minutes that we're not talking about policy. It's 2.5 minutes that we're not talking about Republican policy. 2.5 minutes that we don't offer any kind of substantive analysis of how her policies are different, better, worse, same than Donald Trump. It's 2.5 minutes where people on the left have to close ranks around Kamala Harris to protect her from misogyny, to protect her from patriarchy, to protect her from white supremacist violence, in this case, discursive rhetorical violence, but we have to protect her, right? And so while we're protecting her from that moment, not for Kamala Harris's own sake, she got Secret Service and a whole bunch of people, but it's a fight for the dignity of all women. It's a fight for the dignity of all Black women. It's a fight for the dignity of all Black people. And so while we're doing that, we on the left don't have a space, or we compromise the space. We cede the territory so we can't talk about Kamala Harris as a neoliberal candidate. We lose the discursive room to be able to say that Kamala Harris is prosecuting an imperial war or endorsing an imperial war, that when she says I stand with Israel, she's actually saying I'm going to continue to endorse this illegal genocidal war against the Palestinian people. What's the criminal justice policy? What's the economic plan? What's the vision for reparations for Black folk here in the United States who emerged and descended from slavery? We can't even ask those questions or have those conversations if we're always in a defensive position about this racist thing that's happening. So you have to choose between letting Nancy Mace and people like her disrespect you and your people, or having your agenda ignored because all you're talking about is Nancy Mace. It's a rock and a hard place. I don't have an easy answer for this. I think what I would do moving forward after watching this and learning the lesson is to say, it's to correct her once, call it racist, and then get back to the point, whatever point I'm going to make. Because if you don't do that, you're distracted. This is what Toni Morrison talked about. She said, racism in many ways is just a distraction. It distracts you from who you are, it distracts you from the work you're supposed to be doing. It is literally a system that that in this particular way, and there's other discursive and other theoretical and other economic and other political and other existential things that racism does. It's not just a distraction device, but it does distract us. And so when you hear Tucker Carlson do it, when you hear Donald Trump do it, and you hear him do it right, they do it wrong, etc., they know how to do it. Somehow people learn to pronounce Arnold Schwarzenegger. They learn to pronounce Giannis Antetokounmpo. And you telling me they can't say Kamala? Kamala. 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 Whether you vote for her or you don't, whether you like her or you don't, just say the woman's name right. But more importantly, don't get sucked into this distraction. That's the piece that I need y'all to hear.